Welcome to another episode of Dominic's Equipment. Here today we have our C238, which typically runs our Halverson wood processor, and we had to take the harness out of it for a potential sale, but that didn't work out, so you guys get to see me put in the wiring harness all over again. What I like to do is go ahead and open the cab up, and I'll pull things out towards the back by the firewall. That way there's no pinch points or any chance of it getting snagged. There's a 25mm size nut and big washer that holds our cab in place. I've already went ahead and taken those out because they can be a little bit of a hassle. So there it is there. And when you open up your Halverson wood processor, there's usually a giant Ziploc bag, the owner's manual, and all these wires are in there. The long one that kind of goes off to the left is the one that will chase up the boom. And we have our solenoid control units that zip tie onto the handles, and our cigarette plug to power the computer that also powers the solenoids and things inside the processor itself. We will roll the cab forward, and I'll show you how it goes out through the mat, and then we'll go up the boom. Now we have the cab all opened up, kind of show you how this all will go together. Typically, I put the computer module down here in the corner of the seat. That way everything stays all nice, tight, and dry, and out of the way. We will zip tie the control pieces right onto the handles on either side. When you look at the controllers, you'll see that they're marked left and right, and that's for your orientation. Once you are sitting inside the machine, it says left and right. Those will just get zip tied on the control handles there. I open up the cab just that way nothing comes out through the window to get snagged on branches. It looks a lot cleaner, and I don't have to worry about potential renters getting it caught, ripping it off. And with the way the cab opens up, I actually drilled an 1.5 inch hole through the body. That way I can get the coupler to go through that, and then I can sneak everything up right here at the firewall and start zip tying things on the boom itself. And what we'll do, we'll zip tie it on this little arm here. We'll come out to the hydraulic hoses and then just start chasing the hydraulic lines all the way up to the quick couplers. And what I do recommend is with the wiring harness itself to go ahead and zip tie the coupler onto the hydraulic couplers first, and then you can kind of come down the boom and keep it loose. Just this machine has a really long style boom, and it's just a little short for this unit, but the other Bobcats that we've wired up, we've had plenty of wires left. But this is what connects the machine to the processor itself, and this is what I was recommending to zip tie tight to the hydraulic connections up above. I'm trying to work one-handed here since my GoPro is not functioning right. What I like to do is go ahead and stick that 1.5 inch electric connector through the hole, and then chase things up the frame and go up the firewall and out the back. Have to be mindful of any pinch points and the actual exhaust itself, but I have most of it already kind of hand fed through and just laying in the bottom. We'll go ahead and pull out the slack so we have enough length to go up the cab. Pull this all nice and tight. Just kind of work this over and do a couple of zip ties here to keep it right about in there so it's away from all the pinch points. Alright, we went ahead and put the whole brain of the operation in here behind the armrest and the seat belt. Kind of got it close to where it's going to be. And we've pulled some of the slack out, so when the cab is open, it's not super tight, but there's enough wiggle room there that it's not going to get pinched the next time the cab is open or stretched out. We went ahead and zip tied it in a few places to kind of guide it to where it's got to go. And we come up the side of the firewall here, away from the exhaust, any major pinch points. You do want to be mindful of the pinch points because wires don't like to be rubbed or chafed, cause things to short out and just not do very well. It's something that takes a little bit of time to do it right. Everybody says that I have OCD. I like to tell them that it's CDO, that way it's alphabetically correct. And just better to do it right the first time than to do it over and over again after it breaks. Alright, we have the cab down in the full rest position. And just we like to come in, just make sure all of our wires are nice. This is where it kind of goes down through the rubber and into that 1.5 inch round hole. And just have to be careful when you're closing the cab and kind of keep things slack so it doesn't get pinched. You just kind of have to hand work things out of the way just so we don't get anything crept up in there. Kind of show you what it looks like here. Just everything kind of comes out really nice down below. Just gets pinched in between a couple layers of foam, which is beautiful. Won't pinch it between metal, chafe it out at all. Alright, like I said earlier, since you know where you have to end up, you might as well start here. I always like to take this and zip tie it tight here. Everything else kind of going back to boom, you can leave loose. I already know how this wiring harness is going to fit since I've had on off this about 3 or 4 times already. So all I've done, you can see the hydraulic lines are down here. I kind of use them as a guide for the wiring harness and just zip tie them right to the top of the hydraulic lines. Kind of work my way back on the boom. And you never have too many zip ties. As far as I'm concerned, you want to keep things well out of harm's way because the replacement wiring harness is expensive and it will result in a production time loss for you. I know with this machine I need to leave a little bit of slack here in the middle because the harness is just a little bit too short for this machine, but then just everything gets tied all nice, and right down there is where it comes out of the cab and gets pinched in between the foam. And go ahead and turn the machine on, raise the boom all the way up, and check for any tight spots, any pinch points. And you want to have probably another person watching you do this, just in case anything does get tight. You don't want to rip it or snag it, and it's always nice to be safe. To give you a different angle of what we've just done, we have the arms all the way up, and again our connection comes out here at the cab. We come up this arm, and remember before what I told you was kind of loose. Now we're pretty tight because I can't take this and tie it direct to here because it will stretch it too much and probably pull something out. But if you look up the boom, you can see the hydraulic steel tubing and how that is being a nice guide for our wiring harness as it goes all the way up. Just want to have a second person available to watch you raise the boom for the first time, just in case anything should be too tight. You don't want to stretch, pull, or rip the wiring harness. Alright, now that we have the outside all zip tied together, we're inside the cab. This is the control module for the left side, and again you can tell because it's stamped on there left, and that is the orientation as you are sitting in the seat. And this would just kind of go around this side of the controller, and we'll zip tie it on there. Alright, here we have everything zip tied in. Our handles are all zip tied on nice and tight, and they're not restricting the machine's own buttons. This is just the horn button here on top, and just want to make sure that we don't restrict the movement from the existing buttons on the controllers at all. And again, here we have another one on the New Holland, and we've kind of zip tied our extra wires here behind the seat belt. Just use caution the next time you open the cab, as things tend to shift and move. That way you don't pull the wiring harness too tight or stretch it, rip it. But other than that, you just got to cut off the extra zip ties with some wire cutters, and go ahead and attach the Halverson wood processing attachment and start splitting some firewood. Thanks for watching.